Scientists, how could this be happening? How can something as silly as a yoga posture or sitting and watching your breath, how could that lead to all these sorts of different types of changes? Okay. So, 3 months, can we detect, can meditation change brain structure too? That's something as, simple as, juggling. What about meditation? So the first study we did, we recruited a bunch of people from the Boston area, and these were not monks or meditation teachers. These were just average Joes who, on average, practice meditation about 30 or 40 minutes a day. And we put them in the scanner, and we compared them to a group of people who are demographically matched, but who don't meditate. And what we found is this, that there were indeed several regions of the brain that had more gray matter in the meditators compared to the controls. One of the regions I'm going to point out to you is here in the front of the brain. It's an area that's important for working memory and executive decision making. And what was interesting about it was when we actually plotted the data versus their ages. So here in the red squares, that's the controls. And this is something you see actually, it's been well documented that as we get older, not just there, but across most of our cortex, it actually shrinks as we get older. And this is part of the reason why as we get older, it's harder to figure things out and to remember things. And what was interesting was that in this one region, the 50-year-old meditators had the same amount of cortex as the 25-year-olds, suggesting that meditation practice may actually slow down or prevent the natural age-related decline in cortical structure. So now the critics, and there were many critics, said, well, meditators, they're weird. Maybe they're just like that before they started practicing, right? Or a lot of them, they're vegetarians, so maybe it has something to do with their diet or something else with their lifestyle, Couldn't possibly be the meditation, it had something else, right? And to be fair, that could be true. This first study could not address that. So we did a second study. In this study, what we did is we took people who had never meditated before, and we put them in the scanner, and then we put them through an 8-week meditation-based stress reduction program where they were told to meditate every day for 30 to 40 minutes. And then we scanned them again at the end of the 8 weeks, and this is what we found. So what you can see is that several areas became larger. In this slide, we can see the hippocampus. And in the graph, the controls are in blue and the meditation subjects are in red. And what we see is that the hippocampus, and this is an area that's important for learning and memory. It's also important for emotion regulation. And what's interesting is there's less gray matter in this region in people who have depression and PTSD. Another region we identified was the temporal parietal junction, which is here above your ear. And it's important for perspective taking and empathy and compassion. And again, these are both functions which people report changing when they start practicing meditation and yoga. Another region we identified was the amygdala, and the amygdala is the fight or flight part of your brain. And here we actually found a decrease in gray matter. And what was interesting was that the change in gray matter was correlated with the change in stress. So the more stress reduction people reported, the smaller the amygdala became. And this was really interesting. This really showed that the change in the amygdala, it's not responding to the change in the environment, but rather it's representing the change in the people's reaction and relationship to their environment. And then the other thing that the study shows us is that it wasn't just that people were saying, oh, I feel better, or that it was a placebo response, or that they were trying to please us, that there was an actual neurobiological reason why they were saying they felt less stressed. And so the idea that I'd like to share with all of you today is that meditation can literally change your brain. Thank you.